right, let's get started. My name's John Rogers. I'm a client partner for Pearson, and I just have the pleasure to manage both AWS and their ServiceNow relationship. Let's see, I guess after about 6 months of research, we concluded about midway through this year, and we developed a report. It's a workforce skills forecast report collaboratively with ServiceNow. What we did in this report is we used machine learning, we used economic analysis, we used predictive analytics, and we're able to evaluate not only market shifts from a labor perspective, but also how agentic AI and related technologies impact a role, so at the task level, how they impact an industry, how they impact a country, and roll that up to macroeconomics as well, right? So it's a really fascinating report. So I'd like to introduce my two colleagues here next to me. So one is Ian Gott. He's the Senior Director for Sales for ServiceNow in AI, Data, and Analytics, and also Ray Murray for Pearson.
Hello, everyone.
And he's our CRO and an SVP at Pearson. And what we'd like to discuss today is dive into how these technologies are going to really redefine the world of work, how that we can collaborate with AI as individuals, right? And also just starting to reimagine. I think organizations are going to have to start reimagining how AI impacts and how we work together collaboratively. So with that, I'm going to kick it off. I'll start with Ray. What are kind of the key trends that you saw in the research that triggered a reaction from you?
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks, JR. First of all, I'll just start off by saying it's wonderful to be here at AWS reInvent and to have this opportunity to talk about powering the future of work. I find it a little ironic, I have to say, that we're sitting here in front of people that essentially build and ship the tools of how we're going to power the future of work, and you and I are more on the theory side of things, but it's wonderful to be here. And also like a huge shout out to Ion from ServiceNow, an organization that does so much to bring products and services that reshape the way we do work and make our daily lives very rewarding. So essentially, the headline of the research is agentic AI is not an IT upgrade. It's a massive, massive seismic shift to every economy worldwide like we've never seen. And it will disrupt every industry, but not necessarily in a straight line way. By 2030, we're estimating that about 8 million people, the survey, the research showed that in America alone, 8 million people's roles will get disrupted. And that disruption is going to happen at the skills level. It's going to happen by augmenting those skills and by redefining roles. And the paradox is that AI is disrupting at a very fast pace, but the needs for skills are actually going higher at even a faster pace. And when you look at the research in 8 of the 10 countries that we researched, there will be more work than workers to actually do the work itself. And that's great news. It's great news for all of us. It's great news for all the attendees at reInvent, because it really is job security. And so really the takeaway at a macro level is that AI is not reducing demand for tech, talent itself. It's actually fueling it moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. And Ian, so that's a great macroeconomic brush. Can you take us in from an industry view that you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we saw that with like financial services, you're going to see maybe higher impact in that type of an industry. For example, in Japan, as much as 15% of that workforce impacted in that particular industry, and maybe some similar trends in the US as well as other parts of the world. As we get into other industries like retail as well, we're going to see kind of a disproportionate impact in countries like India and UK when it comes to things like inventory management, customer service. You're already seeing some of that, probably as an online shopper in your experience in terms of how AI is recommending products or how you're checking out. And then other areas too, like professional services, technology, other industry segments will be impacted, but it's more about the augmentation of how AI will help further enhance those jobs and roles. And then lastly, when speaking of roles and knowledge workers, in Singapore we found those knowledge workers are quite advanced. So they're taking AI and making it part of their day-to-day job and really accelerating the productivity and impact they're having. And you'll see that as a trend evolve around the globe for those that invest the time to do more with it versus just learn it, use it.
Yeah, I thought one of the most amazing things for me is there's only 2 countries in the study that we did that oversupply, right? So majority is we have not enough workers to do the work that's needed to hit those GDP goals that we have, except in 2 countries. And those were Germany and those were Japan, right? There's going to be an oversupply over the next few years. But, and this is really good for everybody here in this room, if you look at the tech industry, it's still something like 36% growth skyrocketing. So you guys are in the right spot, I guess is what I'm saying. You're in the right industry that's going up. Okay, let's take it sort of out of the theory and the economic and start to get a little bit more applicable to the people here in the audience. Ray, could you give us a little bit of insight, or maybe like your top 3 recommendations at both the organization level and probably at the individual level on how to navigate these shifts that are being thrown at us through agentic AI?
Yeah. So I'll start off with a bit of a summary and to paint a bit of a picture. So if AI is the engine, then learning really is the fuel. And without power, without the fuel, essentially the engine stays dormant and doesn't get moving. So at Pearson, we know that learning is a lifelong force multiplier. It compounds just like interest does. And it's not something you do once. It's something that for most learners, at the baseline, really learning lifts people from poverty. It enables people to live healthier lives, live happier lives. When we learn, we are typically generally happier. And in the era of AI, that force multiplier is really multiplying, because the truth of the matter is, in the future, knowing how to learn deep and how to learn deep and how to learn wide and fast. Absolutely, that's the essence. How to go fast and how to learn deep and how to learn continuously is going to be the skill of the future and that superpower that's needed. Before AI, we used to essentially learn to earn. So it was cyclical. You'd go to school, then you'd go to university, and then you'd earn some money. Now we're seeing a massive shift where you actually are learning to learn. And the people that are going to be able to keep at pace, and organizations, because essentially people are organizations, are going to have to know how to learn and how to learn faster, how to retain, and how to stay at pace with the growth of technology and the growth that's happening within AI. And at Pearson, we have that science, that pedagogy. We have essentially decades and decades of learning of how people learn. And through our work with AWS, through our work with ServiceNow, we're building tools and products essentially that are embedded in the flow of work, that are giving you that constant feedback. And really organizations that essentially still look at learning as something on the sidelines, something that is not actually embedded in the flow of work, will essentially stay behind. So really thinking about learning, investing in learning, and moving forward with it embedded, continuous in your daily habit tools is really something that every organization has to adopt, and has to adopt very, very quickly. And they have to do it ubiquitously across all of the organization, across all of their business units.
Yeah, so you're effectively saying that the skill of learning is the most important skill you can have.
Exactly.
And that's really great, and that's the perspective certainly from Pearson, which is focused around lifelong learning and so forth. let's take a technical lens, right? So from a ServiceNow perspective, can you answer the same kind of top 3 recommendations for how organizations and individuals navigate this, but through sort of a tech lens on that side?
Yeah, no, of course. And at ServiceNow, we say, we put AI to work for the people, and that starts with, embracing AI and partnering with AI in a way that it's going to complement the things you're doing day to day, embracing it in a way beyond, you learn it, you orchestrate it, but also you're going to do more with it in the sense of setting goals, learning about what means, good in terms of data that it is output, and being able to really embrace kind of an end-to-end approach where it's trustworthy and you're building on it in a way that's going to have impact, that's valuable. The human element is going to stay involved in this too. It's not just about the tech or the agent. So like the human element of creativity, application, complex thinking needs to stay in place. And that's why the third point is, governance as guardians. We all are that. When we're embracing AI and we're working with data within an organization, that just doesn't fall on the C-suite or the chief risk officer. We're all handling that data, and we need to handle it responsibly and think about not only what we're putting in, but what's coming out and how we're applying it and using it to make decisions and foster the outcome that we're looking to achieve in terms of that balance of innovation and capability from learning is that combination of skill that the people are looking for. It's going to be valuable as the workforce evolves.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So one of the other things that stood out to me was if you start to look at the demand for agentic AI skills, you can, any of the web crawlers, anybody who's looking at that skills base sees this incredible hockey stick at this point. But if you actually look and you overlay that with governance skills, zero increase whatsoever. So you're seeing this agentic AI skill base go through the moon, and then you have a completely flat for anything governance related to agentic AI governance, right? So if anybody's looking for a new job, I got a feeling at some point they're going to have to close that gap. It might be an interesting area to get into. Okay, so that was, we've taken it down to the individual, we've looked at the organization, and we've looked at the macro. Ray, how would you, look at how this is impacting you? So let's make it a little bit more personal. So from the teams and from Pearson's perspective internally within our own company, could you give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, JR. So I will say this, at Pearson, AI has been part of our DNA for a good 18 months now. And we're very fortunate to essentially have leaders that are very keen on Pearson being at the forefront of essentially driving AI and education through AI. And we have every Pearson employee has access to AI through their daily habit tools, which is a wonderful thing to see. And we also have KPIs and personal goals to get trained and get certified on AI. After all, we are an education and a certification credentialing organization. So we like to be customer zero before we roll things out to our customers. And we also like to drink our own champagne or eat our own dog food, depending on what the saying is. And so moving forward, what we want to do is essentially harness the power of AI and work with partners such as AWS, such as ServiceNow, to bring real customized ways of learning, AI tutors, coaches that are digital in the flow of work. And we also want to be an organization that revolutionizes education and make sure that everybody comes along. So that's a big part, and AI can actually do that and can help us do that at scale. So a lot of things that we used to think about in the past, and of course then you've got the innovation side, you've got how does it impact our operations, our customer service, HR, and finance. So we're making all those changes, and what it's doing there is it's taking away from the mundane robotic aspect of tasks that none of us really like to do, and that AI is very good at. But it also gives us and allows us the chance to give elbow room for our people to essentially do the things that AI is not good at, and that's the human side of things, and to mostly on the softer skills, agility, leadership, communication, that kind of thing. And we're also hell-bent moving forward in the future on becoming an organization that, part of that circle of organizations that's not just investing in AI to cost cut, but to actually augment and enable a human workforce to be more human and to do those elements that I talked about before.
Okay, thanks, Ray. Anything to add, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, it also comes down when we talk about the technology side and what we're doing with Pearson VUE and AWS. It comes down to the models, the AI, the choice that you have on what AI models you want to use. For example, with the Now Assist platform on ServiceNow and how we've built integrations with AWS as a hyperscaler choice for our customers is a great collaboration we have to make sure that you have the approach and governance and security you need to move forward with your use cases.
That's great. Thank you. So I kind of heard several things come out as in summary points. One is learning to learn. That is a primary skill that everybody needs to get comfortable with, right? The technology is outpacing our skills right now. So getting comfortable with that. I think my grandfather had one job his entire life, worked for 40 years at it. My father had, I think, 2 or 3. I've had 5, I'm Gen X, right? But you're starting to see that get more and more. But now there's a new twist to it. It's not just I'm one particular role in multiple different companies. It's starting to blend where my role is evolving consistently. I can give you a little bit more insight into what we found, particularly against all the ecosystem roles that are sitting in the audience right now, the data geeks, the architects, and so forth. In the next 5 years, our analysis is showing about 12 to 15 hours of time capacity being released in your workday due to the impact of these technologies. So unless we're all going to a 3-day work week, which I don't think we are anytime soon, your job's going to evolve. They're going to combine roles. They're going to start looking for new tasks. So just be ready for it. So learning to learn is one. The second thing is around governance, right? Everybody has to be responsible for governance. And I guess the third is really like, look, we're all in this together. It's here already. This isn't, you kick it down the road a little bit. We're already in the middle of it. So I'm excited. I want to give a quick pitch. We produced this report and it got so much success around the world that we've after that, over the last 3 months, we've actually released 10 individual reports per country. So there's one for every single country. What we're both using it, both Pearson and ServiceNow is using it to have conversations with governments, to have conversations with the institutions that we talk with, and commercial or enterprises as well. So this is a great way to start a conversation about what their skilling strategy and so forth, but to actually have data that represents that. It's a public on the ServiceNow website, so the way you can find it, just type in Workforce Skills Forecast Report, and it's available to anybody in this room free of charge. Okay? We got about a little bit of time left, but I think I'm going to excuse everybody early. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. I know your time's valuable, so thanks for spending it with us.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.